Good morning. It is 6:19 a.m. on Thursday. That's right. February 4th, 2016. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. See, I didn't really just get up though. I just very narrowly avoided falling into an insidious trap. You know those fairy excuse me, kind of interrupts the flow of my story. If this wasn't such an unedited sort of deal, I probably would have done another take on that. Anyway, you know those fairy tales where, like, a little kid follows the friendly looking little wood sprite out into the forest and keeps going, and it seems so friendly and playful until all of a sudden you realize you've been drawn into a trap. Or in the Phantom Toll Booth, when he gets into the doldrums and finds that the less he moves, the harder it is to move at all. And yeah, it was one of those traps. But thankfully, due to my advanced pop culture knowledge, um, aka nerd stuff, I recognized it as such and was able to avoid it before it enveloped me completely. So, what happened in this context is that I've been playing a lot of The Witness for PS4. It's also on Steam, but I'm playing it on PS4. And it's just a lot of puzzles, but it's a beautiful environment that you're solving these puzzles in. I think I talked about it before on a previous video, but in case you hadn't seen it. Um, but there are so many puzzles that there's a lot of times where one will start to get frustrating, and you're just kind of beating your head against a wall with it. And this is definitely one of those games where, more often than not, when that happens, you're better off just going off and finding a different area to explore. Because lots of times when you've had some space, the solution will just come to you. Or when you go back and do it refreshed, it's suddenly easy instead of the pounding your head against the wall. Well, what happened is that I'd been playing it last night, and again, stayed up later than I meant to by doing so. But I'd been stuck on one particular puzzle, and I finally had to go to bed without solving it, and it was frustrating. But then when I went to take Luna out this morning, first thing after getting up, Luna, no, come on, shh, hey. This has been a thing lately. When I took her out this morning, I'm just walking her outside, and just out of nowhere, I'm like, oh, but what if I do that? And so I came back in from the walk, and I booted it up to see if my idea was right, and it was. And I unlocked a new area, and I went in to go see what those puzzles were. And then I sat down on the couch, and then Luna got up and got on the couch with me and laid her head down on my lap. And I kind of leaned back on the couch and scooted down a little bit, and look, oh, and more puzzles. See? You see? You see the trap? But thankfully, as previously mentioned, I am able to recognize traps of this nature sometimes. And I was able to extricate myself from this one, although there was a part of me that seriously considered calling it sick to work. In other news, I got my car's oil changed yesterday. It was overdue, really by any margin. I mean, it was to the point where, the oil light was starting to come on. And so I really had let it go longer than I probably should have. But it just raised the question for me that I had always come up with cars hearing the every 3 months, 3,000 miles rule of thumb. And the idea being you do whichever comes first is when you need to do it. So you do every 3 months, whether you've driven 3,000 miles or not. You do it every 3,000 miles, whether or not it's been 3 months. Um, but then when I was mentioning that to a coworker, he was saying, "What? I never heard that. I do 5,000 miles." And it just occurred to me that the 3 months, 3,000 miles definitely is one of those things where it's like, kind of rolls off the tongue in a suspicious way. Like maybe it's a slogan from a place like Jiffy Lube or something rather than some kind of an actual rule. I wonder. I haven't looked it up to see, but it does strike me that it may well be that the amount of time actually varies from one car to another, or and what kind of oil you're using, and what kind of shape your car is in otherwise, and all those sorts of things. But it's a bit like shampoo bottles that say lather, rinse, repeat. They say repeat so that you will use more shampoo. Anyway, oil change accomplished. And so I will talk to you guys tomorrow for 5 more minutes.